Right.
But you have to look at it. This is a 16-year-old boy who was really digging this girl. His hormones are raging, and they could or could not have had sex. So that's a whole different thing going on. He ain't thinking about you.
Yeah, but
and let me say this:
you got a husband.
Well, I wasn't going to go there.
Go ahead. Yeah,
but it's very gray.
okay.
The movie starts. It's 3:30.
Okay.
The movie we plan on seeing starts at 4:15. I know I can't cut the grass and catch the 4:15 show.
Yeah.
So my communication to you would be, Mom, I'm taking care of the grass. We are going to the movies. We're going to catch this show first. But
Okay.
the grass will be cut today because it ain't getting dark till 9
Right.
after the movie is over.
But if I asked you 2 weeks ago to cut my grass and she just asked you today, what you gonna do?
The response probably should be, we had to catch a later show.
Okay.
Or
the
go
PC.
another day. However, this is a grown-up talking.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Who doesn't? Then again, I'll take it a step further. I don't mind being transparent.
Okay.
This is a grown-up who can't cut mom's grass anymore.
Yes.
So that makes you look at the scenario totally different
Okay.
than
If you still got
because
the option.
he's 16. At 16 years old,
But it's not my 16-year-old. It's my
or even
20-year-old.
still at 20,
Okay.
I'm looking at it as if, that grass ain't going nowhere.
Okay.
But my time with her is what's important.
Okay. So let me ask the ladies.
So I got a little grace for him, a little bit.
As
Love you, nephew.
the teenager looking at, like, you're the female. So if you're the girlfriend and you want to go to the movies and his mom wanted, to cut the grass, change whatever it is, are you going to force the situation, or are you going to say, hey, I need you to go?
Well, it's nothing for you to force because, we've all dated as teenagers. When I dated as teenager, and we've been through scenarios like that where the moms wanted stuff done before he went out.
Right.
There is no way, because of my makeup and my upbringing, that I'm going to go against whatever your mother's telling you.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm thinking we either need to catch the show tomorrow or
Right.
we need to catch the later show, because whether you say it or not, I'm thinking you're getting ready to cut your mother's grass.
Right. Right.
It wasn't something that I had to force. And if it had to be forced, that's not the girl you need to be talking to.
My nigga.
Period.
My nigga.
I got a question, y'all.
Come on, freak.
So,
But you got
so
that
how?
free answer. You got that free answer for your question come
Question
out.
for
I
y'all.
keep it short and sweet for you. But I mean, I'm similar that way too, because I always had that thought of, if he treats his mother good, then he's gonna treat me good.
Right.
If he treat her like trash, then I don't got nothing coming.
Right.
Yeah.
So of course I'm gonna sit there while you cut that grass. We'll catch that show later. You need some help?
Yes.
So we can get
Get
done
right.
quicker.
Right.
I hold the bag.
Right.
Yes, I've never been that type, but I've seen it happen, and there's a reason. You know what I mean? They got some kind of hold, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, but yeah, no, I would have to go ahead and cut that grass and help them out.
All right. What you got to say?
My question is for all of y'all, because it's something that has occurred now that has become, I don't know, sort of popular. But women will call a man who does something for his mother a mama's boy. So how do y'all fight that, or how do you all suggest the young men deal with
women
that?
don't call men mama's boys who do things for their mother.
Women don't do that.
No. Well, females, we don't. I'm speaking in general. We don't do that because you're doing something for your mother.
Right.
We say that and we behave that way when you put your mother before your wife. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you only get one mother,
Right.
but your wife comes before everybody.
I'm with you on that. But
Or
this
an unreasonable mom.
this is a
Or
20-year-old.
an unreasonable mom.
Right.
You're absolutely.
But this is a 20-year-old that you were saying in the beginning. It's been trying to figure out, how am I raising these kids? How am I missing the mark? And if there's a number of things that are not being done, if they were doing all of them, would they wind up being considered a mama's boy?
No, you're talking about a 20-year-old whose parents are partially taking care of him, and a grown man who's married with a wife. Those are two different. Those are two different
Those
things.
are two different things. But the conversation started off with, I got these kids. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with these kids.
But you also pose the question, why do we call men mama's boys? And that, for me, that would be the reason. When you're dealing with an unreasonable mother who is always intruding, interfering, and you're always running, and things in my house are getting undone.
Right.
Or causing conflict. And you're allowing that conflict to happen because of your concern or whatever you want to call it for your mother.
I like the answer. I still was thinking about what you saying about the mamas and the children. But I like what you said because there are a lot of women that need to hear that.
If I'm partially taking care of you and I've been asking you for 2 weeks to cut my grass, whether my husband is going to cut it or not, you better have your behind over here cutting that grass or it's going to be some problems.
ASAP.
Just cut the grass, dude. Just cut the grass.
Just cut the grass.
Just cut it.
But I think when we're raising grown children like that, our children, and I will be the first to admit it, have been spoon-fed. They feel entitled.
Yes.
They have been spoiled.
Yes.
Rotten. So when it really comes time to take responsibility, it's like, okay, I'll get to it.
Right.
Bruh.
Right.
No, you gonna get to it
Right now.
You're gonna do it right now.
Right.
But that's it's our fault. It really is our fault. When they were little, clean up your room. It don't get clean for 2 days and we let it slide.
Right.
Sweep the floor. It's not swept until midnight and we let it slide. We let it slide. It's really our fault. Dave, what you think?
Listen.
You have a son and a daughter?
I do.
Okay.
19 and 13. So
Okay.
I got a grown child as well.
Yeah.
The predicament with raising grown children is, at that point, how do you discipline them? We're all fairly close in age, so at least I know that we came up getting whoopings or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You're not whooping the 19-year-old.
No.
Definitely not.
You're not whooping the 20-year-old. So how do you deal with how does discipline come into play from that
Punch him in the
perspective?
face.
I remember.
I'm just playing.
No.
What did you say?
Punch him in the face.
Oh,
I'm just
yeah,
playing.
well, you know.
I'm just playing.
Go stand behind the car.
I'm just playing.
Just stand there, I said. It's hard because, what do you really do? I remember being about 20 years old, and I was working this job, and it was fishy a little.
Okay.
And my mother saw it, and she was like, I don't think I like this situation. So her response was, I'm still living at home at the time.
Okay.
Her response was, you know what? I'm going to need your keys. I don't want you coming in and out of this house if I'm not here. And to be transparent, I wasn't doing anything illegal.
Yeah.
But it was just a job that was, we were selling stuff, and it was just, it was fishy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And looking at it from her eyes, she's like, I don't want whatever might look like some street stuff going on. I want you doing it in here.
Yeah.
Right.
So I couldn't be in the house unless they was in the house. I was like, yo. But looking back on it now, I'm like, I probably would have had some more conversation about it and investigated some more.
Right.
But I can respect that level of discipline because you got my attention for sure.
Yeah. I ain't got no keys.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's 10 o'clock and y'all asleep. I know I can't knock on the door. Now what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
Sleep in your car.
Yeah, you ain't got no choice, do you?
No.
Or be home at 9:30 before the old folk go to bed.
Right.
We're going to take a break. We're going to continue this conversation. You listen to the Drip Podcast. Create eye-catching designs that will make your apparel top of the line. The possibilities are endless with ski tees and apparel.
No order too large or small. One item or hundreds. No problemo.
With quick turnaround times, no setup charges or hidden fees, and rush services to fit your needs.
Customize your look today by calling 440-462-9401. Again, that's 440-462-9401. Ski Tees and Apparel at skiteesapparel.com.
Yo, it's the Drip Podcast. What? Yo. Every Saturday, 10 a.m. Nick, free, Mark.
Hey everybody, we're back with the Drip Podcast. So we're having interesting conversation about how to, the last thing Dave Munford said, how do we discipline our adult children? And it's a good, question. My aunt, who's deceased, she was my go-to for everything. Relationships, child rearing. She was married for 65 years and happily married. Bless. Had children who were very successful, and so she was always the one to go to talk. And the one thing she told me about because I have two boys, and she said, as they get older, I guess we were at the house and I was yelling at Nicholas for something, and she pulled me to the side and she said, as they get older, you're not going to be able to tell them what to do. You need to suggest things for them to do because they're children. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to tell them. You have to suggest to them, and after you have suggested and they don't do, you have to pull away. If you asked your 20-year-old to cut your grass and he's used to driving your car on Fridays to work, you didn't cut my grass, you find your own way to work on Friday. That's the kind of stuff and that's what discipline looks like for an adult. Okay. And I think if we grab a hold of that kind of stuff, 'cause our kids have too much, and like I said before the break, they're spoiled rotten. Mm-hmm. They're just rotten.
Yes, they are.
They've been handed everything, and even when you've taught them responsibility, they have this sense of entitlement.
Right.
So when you're partially caring for an 18, 20-year-old and you're asking them to do stuff, you take away what you're doing for them. And let them see what it feels like.
What's for dinner? Whatever you cook.
Whatever you cook.
Oh, that's what I started doing.
Yeah.
Things
you
like
better go
that.
check their refrigerator and see what you find.
What did you bring?
Did you go to the grocery store? Oh,
Right.
I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you'll get to my grass, I'll get to cooking.
Oh, man.
I'll get it. I'll get it. I'll get to it.
Oh.
I mean, I think that's what discipline for me and my boys looks like. Rearing, boys turning into men.
Yeah. Well,
that works for me.
The man translation is also good too, though, because I think in the situation in this particular scenario, having a man to translate sometimes what you're asking or what you're saying helps, because it's not always heard the same way when the mother says something to the son versus when the father says it.
Okay.
And there is a way to communicate certain things. I know, for example, I had a conversation this week with a young man whose mother was saying some things to him, and at the volume level and the pitch at which it was being said, all he could hear was, I'm going to say something back, I'm going to say something back, I'm going to say something back, and all I'm doing is this, and all I'm doing is that. But the translation was that he couldn't hear her really saying, help me. I can't be over here doing this and what I'm asking you to do at the same time. I need you to help me. And when he heard his mother saying help, it did something to him.
That's good.
Where now he was like, oh, that's what you're saying? Okay, I could do that. I ain't going to say nothing back now. But he didn't have that translator before to really understand how that volume and that pitch was really trying to communicate something else. All he could hear was the surface. So, when he had that example, it was like, hey, man, if you was down the street and you heard her talking at the same pitch, that same volume, saying, help me, calling your name, what would you do? I don't care who you with. What would you do? You heard your mama calling?
We come running.
You come running. He was like, I'll be right there. I was like, that's the same thing that's happening in the house. It's just you can't tell how much pressure is on her with all the stuff that she's dealt with all day long, all week long, times the number of you and your siblings.
Yeah.
And whoever's in her life.
And that's a good example. That was really good. Oh.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, that was good. And I'll give you something similar. They, at my mom's house, they tore down a house on one side, tore down two houses on the other side, so they're having field mice. They're little bitty things. And my mom has a cat dog. He's a dog, but he's catching field